Welcome. This is Carol Vinci, and these sessions are for people who know we are ADD or ADHD, people who fear they might be ADD and ADHD and want to learn more, and those who by choice or chance live or work with people with ADD and ADHD as they exhibit the symptoms. This session is about menopause. The mere mention of the word instills terror and fear in both women as they anticipate the experience and their family members who will be enduring the process alongside them. In addition to the well known symptoms of night sweats, poor sleep, and weight gain, I have something else to add to the list. If you are already experiencing the symptoms of ADD and ADHD, it is likely that they will get worse during this period. If you have been lucky enough never to have had any of the symptoms, there is a good chance that they might be triggered during this period of your life. I know that's not the information that you wanted to hear at this moment. I was perimenopausal at 41. And I had an experience that really rattled my cage, which is hard to do because I was sort of oblivious to most of the symptoms through this up to that point and well beyond in my life. I was walking down a hall to go to a meeting during my corporate life, and I walked headlong into a wall. I missed the door. It was fortunate that I was wearing my contact lenses and not glasses, so the damage that was done was not physical, just to my ego. I mean, how could I have missed the door? It's a big open space. I walked into the wall. I thought if I could miss the door, what was the risk of my missing an off-ramp on a highway? In one of the prior sessions, the risk of undiagnosed ADD and ADHD, I talked about the inclination of women to commit suicide by automobile. There's no way of knowing that how many of those might have been accidents because of the spatial challenge that I experienced in a relatively safe environment. After the meeting, I drove to a local bookstore that I had frequented regularly. And I was directed to this book that I recommend highly. It's called Smart But Feeling Dumb by Dr. Harold Levinson. As a dyslexic, one is not likely to curl up in a corner to read. And I had purchased many self-help books at that location before, but they had just piled up in my bookcase. But this time I was motivated. I devoured the book that weekend. On Monday morning, I was on the phone to schedule an appointment to see this doctor. Fortunately, he was only an hour or so drive from where I lived. After a series of tests, I was put on some medication, and after a few months, the medication started to kick in. I have mentioned in prior sessions to examine parts of your life to see if you could connect the dots, so to speak, in your prior experiences that might give you insight into the reasons for your behavior. And I'm going to share two of those experiences. I played serve and volley tennis. If you're not familiar with the sport, that means putting the ball in play and then trying to end the point as quickly as possible. I never gave any thought to that form of play, other than it seemed much more exciting to me. In reality, I was not able to stay focused long enough to hit the ball over the net 6, 8, 10, 16, 30 times as some players in today's environment do. I never was connected the dots. When on the meds, I was playing mixed doubles with somebody who had worked with me and knew my behavior. And all of a sudden, I had to hit the ball over the net 10 times. That had never happened. She and I, because she worked for me, knew very much about my behavior in all aspects of my life. Started laughing. By the 12th shot, I was giggling so much that I couldn't even play. The medication had kicked in and it improved my ability to focus. So there was a reason for my serve in Bali, because I didn't have the other skills, but I never connected those dots. I also believed that I could never survive through a business day, and I usually work 12 hours a day except on Fridays, without making a visit to the vending machine for a hot chocolate about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, just to give me that additional boost. I started seeing an applied kinesiologist for two reasons. One, I had no energy at the end of my 60-hour week, and my knee pain was limiting my ability to enjoy my downhill skiing. He suggested that I eliminate sugar completely from my diet. I looked at him as if he was absolutely crazy. He then came back and said, "Well, how about for 90 days?" Well, being stubborn and determined, I can do anything for 90 days. 90 days turned into 9 years. And I know people cringe when I talk about that. I know it was not an easy diet, but what it did eliminate was the night sweats and poor sleep behavior of menopause. I never really had those symptoms. So, it's a balance, there's a trade-off, you know. How much sleep do you want? How much focus do you want? And are you willing to give up the dessert and the alcohol and any of the sugar? But the I don't know quite what it was, but whenever I got to that point in menopause, in the 9th year, after the 8th year, it stopped working. And it was a difficult diet to maintain. But I was able to ski 25 to 30 days a year. I dropped weight, and it was not a starvation diet. I was carrying nuts in my business suit pockets because I couldn't make it from takeoff to landing. I was ravenously hungry, so there was nothing starvation about the diet. But my body chemistry changed. And this is a little bit of a political announcement that I'm going to make. The lack of knowledge of the chemistry of the female body is so inadequate that nobody seems to care or is willing to. Let me restate that. Nobody is willing to address the challenge that it presents. In my entire history of visiting doctors, I've only had one doctor who was even prepared to address the subject. And that was because he is an MD and has a master's in nutrition. But, typically medical studies are lucky if they get to 10% of female participation. So we are missing out of a tremendous amount of information about what will help us improve women, but help improve our health. As a volunteer EMT, I was teaching CPR classes, and I would joke that since we outlive our male counterparts, we're better off without their help. And I would get a chuckle from the class. But it is serious because women are sent away from the ER because their heart attack symptoms are pain in the left arm and back pain, as opposed to the typical chest pain that is exhibited in male patients. And they're lucky if they can recognize that they need to go back, and how many of them have not had that awareness in time. If you're looking for a career and are inclined to research, I encourage you to think about this choice. You will never get grants and support from traditional medicine. But today, there are enough women running extremely successful businesses that I would encourage you to seek support from. Go for it. Use your ADD and ADHD superpowers to make an impact on a subject that each of us will experience at some point in our lives. Some people earlier, some people later. But if you live to be 50 or 60, you will experience menopause. And we need to know more information about it. I thank you for your time. I encourage you to subscribe to this channel. And I look forward to any comments, positive, negative, controversial, totally disagree with me, think I'm crazy. Whatever your reaction is, I really appreciate your feedback. And subscribe to the channel. Be well and see you tomorrow.